Have you ever done everything right and still lost her? You texted back at the perfect time. You were kind. You were available. You paid attention. And somehow, somewhere in between all of that, she lost interest. She pulled back. And you were left standing there replaying every moment, trying to figure out where it went wrong. That feeling is one of the loneliest feelings a man can have. Because you tried. You genuinely tried. And it still didn't work. I want you to stop for a second and really sit with that. Think about the last time you felt that shift. That moment when her energy changed. When the texts got shorter. When the laughs felt forced. When she started calling you her best friend with that soft, apologetic tone in her voice. You felt it before you understood it. And you had no idea what to do with it. I'm your host, and this is Secret Mind Code, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. Not tricks, not manipulation. The deep, biological, emotional code that women themselves often can't put into words. And today, we're going inside 7 of the most powerful things women crave from men. Things they will rarely, if ever, say out loud. And I'll warn you now, the final one is incredibly powerful. It can change everything fast and almost no one uses it correctly. So stay with me all the way through, because what you learn here today is going to quietly shift how women experience you. Starting with the very next interaction. Here is the first thing you need to understand before we get to the 7. None of what happened to you was your fault. I mean that. You were never taught this. Nobody sat you down and explained how female attraction actually works beneath the surface. Society handed you a broken map. Be nice, be available, show her how much you care. And you followed that map with everything you had, and it led you off a cliff. That's not failure. That's a sequencing error. You had the right intentions and the wrong information. Female attraction is not logical. It's emotional, subconscious, and deeply rooted in evolutionary psychology. Women are not consciously running through a checklist when they feel drawn to a man. Their nervous system is scanning constantly for signals. Signals that say this man is safe but not boring, strong but not cold, present but not desperate. It's a complex biological shortcut that evolved over thousands of years. And the men who understand how to send those signals without being fake or manipulative, those men become magnetic. They stop chasing. And they start becoming the man women genuinely want to win over. That's what this is about. Real tools, real psychology, used with respect and intention. Let's get into the 7. The first thing women crave from men is masculine presence. Not looks, not money, not height, presence. And this is the one most men completely misunderstand because nobody talks about it properly. Masculine presence is grounded energy. It's the feeling a man gives off when he is fully in his body, fully in the moment and not rattled by the room. Is the man who walks in somewhere and doesn't immediately scan the space for approval. He's not performing. He's not anxious. He's just there, settled, calm, and women feel this before a word is spoken. Think about a time you were nervous around a woman. Your voice changed a little. Your movements got slightly rushed. You laughed too quickly at things that weren't that funny. That's not weakness. That's what happens when your nervous system is in seek approval mode. And her nervous system reads that signal instantly. Not harshly, just accurately. It says this man is not fully anchored. And attraction begins to fade before either of you understands why. The shift is this. Stop entering interactions looking for her reaction. Enter looking to genuinely connect. Plant your feet, slow your breath, take up your natural space. When you speak, let there be space between your words. Grounded energy is not something you perform. is something you practice until it becomes who you are. Presence is the first signal. Get this right and everything else lands differently. The second thing women crave is emotional challenge. And this is where a lot of good men completely abandon their value without realizing it. Emotional challenge is not about being cold. It's not about withholding. It's about polarity. It's the playful, warm tension that happens when a man doesn't immediately hand over his approval. When he teases gently, when he has an opinion, when he doesn't rush to agree with everything she says just to keep the peace. Here's a real example. She says something slightly dramatic like, "I can't believe how bad my day was. Everything went wrong." Most men in seek approval mode immediately say, "Oh no, that sounds awful. What happened?" And they mean well. But they handed over all their energy in one move. The man who understands polarity might smile and say, "Sounds like the universe is personally targeting you this week." Light, warm, slightly teasing, and then he listens. That response does something neurologically. It creates a small, pleasant gap. She has to lean in a little. She has to engage back. And that lean in is the beginning of real interest. Challenge is not cruelty. Challenge is having enough self-respect to bring your real personality into the interaction instead of just mirroring her emotions back at her. Be warm, be real, but don't disappear into agreeableness. She can't chase a man who has no edges. The third thing women crave is selective attention. And this one is quiet but devastating when it's absent. We live in a world where attention is cheap. Everyone is available all the time. Notifications answered in seconds. Texts returned instantly. And the man who is always available, who always responds immediately, who rearranges his life at the first signal she might want something, that man is not creating desire. He's creating comfort without attraction. And comfort without attraction is friendship. The science here is simple. Scarcity creates value. This is not cruelty. It's psychology. When your attention is selective, when she knows you have a full life, a real purpose, genuine passions, and that your attention is given rather than defaulted, she begins to value it. She notices when it's there, and she notices when it's not. Here's the real version of this in practice. You don't cancel your plans every time she becomes available. You finish what you're working on before you respond. You have things you care about outside of her. Not as a tactic, as a real life. A man with a mission is one of the most attractive things a woman can encounter because it signals strength, direction, and self-respect. Full life. Selective attention. That combination tells her story a woman wants to be part of. If this is making sense so far, hit subscribe and join the Secret Mind Code community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. Let's keep going. The fourth thing women crave is intentional listening. And I want to separate this from what most people call being a good listener, because those are not the same thing. Intentional listening is not just nodding and waiting for your turn. It's emotional seeing. It's the practice of paying close enough attention to a woman that you remember the small things she said 3 conversations ago. You remember the name of her difficult coworker. You remember that she was nervous about a phone call with her mother last week. You ask about it before she brings it up. This does something to a woman that goes very deep, because most people in her life are half listening. They're present in body, but absent in attention. When a man truly sees her, not her surface, but her actual inner world, she feels something she doesn't always have language for. She feels known. And feeling known is one of the most powerful emotional experiences a human being can have. Here's the example. She mentioned 2 weeks ago that she was trying to get better at cooking. You see her next and ask, How did that recipe go? She's gonna stop. She might even look at you differently in that moment. Because most people forgot that before she finished the sentence. You didn't. That's not manipulation. That's just paying attention. But it's so rare now that it reads as deeply intimate. Recall the small things. She'll feel it in ways she can't explain. The fifth thing women crave is calibrated vulnerability. And this is one of the most misunderstood of all 7. Men are often taught 2 extremes. Either suppress everything and show no emotion, or open up completely and share all your wounds hoping she'll feel closer to you. Both extremes break attraction. The first one feels cold and unknowable. The second one, and this is the painful truth, reads as emotionally unsafe. Not because she's cruel, but because a woman's deep biology is looking for a man who can hold his own weight. When a man overshares pain and hardship too early, her nervous system reads instability. It's not a judgment. It's a biological response. Calibrated vulnerability is the middle path. It's sharing real things about yourself. Genuine thoughts, real fears, honest moments, without collapsing into them. It's saying, I've had moments of real self-doubt in my career, and then moving forward with strength. It's letting her see you're human without letting her feel like she needs to carry you. Here's how this sounds. Instead of, I've been going through a really hard time lately and I don't really know what I'm doing with my life, you might say, I've been doing a lot of thinking about what I actually want. I'm in the middle of building something real. Same truth, completely different energy. One invites her in. One asks her to become your therapist. Be real, be open, but stay grounded while you do it. That combination is rare and it is deeply attractive. The sixth thing women crave is gradual physical touch. And this one needs to be handled with real care and real respect, which is exactly how the most attractive men handle it. Touch is one of the most direct pathways to oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Light, respectful, well-timed physical contact creates a neurological warmth that deepens connection faster than most conversations can. The key word here is gradual, not rushed, not absent, gradual. The man who never touches, never a hand on the arm, never a brief shoulder brush, never a warm hug, hello, feels emotionally distant even when the words are right. But the man who moves too fast physically creates anxiety and breaks trust. Gradual is the art. Light contact early. A hand on the shoulder when she says something funny. A brief, genuine touch on the arm when you agree with something meaningful, she said. Presence communicated through subtle, respectful contact. This is not about physical escalation for its own sake. It's about building a felt sense of warmth and safety, of genuine closeness. When done right, she associates you with a feeling she can't quite name but can't stop wanting to be around. Touch lightly, touch intentionally. Let the warmth speak before the words do. And now, the seventh, the one I told you to wait for. Controlled unpredictability. This is the most powerful of all 7, and almost no one uses it correctly. Because most men either become completely predictable out of safety, or they create chaos out of insecurity. Neither works. Controlled unpredictability is something entirely different. Dopamine, the neurochemical behind motivation, desire, and pursuit, is released not by reward itself, but by the anticipation of uncertain reward. This is deep evolutionary psychology. The brain becomes intensely engaged when the outcome is not fully known. This is why unpredictability, when handled with warmth and intention, creates a pull that logic simply cannot compete with. Here's what this looks like in practice. You don't always respond with the same tone. Sometimes you're deeply warm, sometimes you're playful and a little elusive, sometimes you suggest something unexpected. You don't follow the same script every interaction. She can't fully predict your next move, not because you're cold or inconsiderate, but because you're genuinely layered. Genuinely interesting. Not a man who can be figured out in 2 conversations. The key word is controlled. This is not random flakiness. This is not canceling plans without care. This is not emotional hot and cold as a weapon. Controlled unpredictability is the natural result of a man who has depth, who has moods rooted in real life, not performance, who surprises her with something thoughtful out of nowhere, who sometimes declines to share everything he's thinking, not to withhold, but because he has an interior life that isn't always an open book. She finds herself thinking about you between conversations, wondering what you're up to, noticing when she hasn't heard from you. That noticing is the beginning of real desire. Be layered. Stay interesting. Don't let yourself become something she can completely predict. Because the moment she can, the dopamine quiets. And quietly, so does the attraction. Here is what I want you to take with you from today. You are not broken. You were not taught these things. The men who seem naturally magnetic, most of them stumbled into these patterns by accident, by experience, by pain. And now you have the map they didn't. You understand that masculine presence is grounded energy, not performance. That emotional challenge creates polarity, not distance. That selective attention communicates value without cruelty. That intentional listening makes a woman feel truly seen. That calibrated vulnerability shows strength through honesty. That gradual touch builds real warmth. And that controlled unpredictability keeps the dopamine alive. These are not tricks. These are tools. They are rooted in real psychology, real biology, real human connection. And the difference between a man who uses them manipulatively and a man who uses them well is intention, respect, genuine desire to build something real with another person. You don't need to be perfect to use these. You don't need to overhaul your personality. You just need to understand what's actually happening beneath the surface of attraction and respond accordingly. Real tools, real respect, real results. That's what you just stepped into. You have silently leveled up today, and she'll feel it before she can explain it. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to Secret Mind Code now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality again.